Thanks for tuning into this watch along. While there's a break in play, here's a reminder to hit the like button, subscribe and click that notification bell. Your support helps to keep the channel going. While we're here, you can now become a member to enjoy perks including badges for the live chat, but also bonus material such as interviews with top players from both ATP and WTA tours. The membership link is pinned in the live chat. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. So whether it be serves or volleys, forehands or backhands, serve bots or drop shots, we've got you covered. Whether that be via our website, talking-tennis.com, where you can read features and interviews from our top writers. Or if you prefer us in audio form, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Amazon or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from. Remember, we offer you wall-to-wall coverage via our regular watch-alongs, magazine shows such as Nick's WTA Weekly or Damien and Mario's ATP version. Plus, we deliver top content from people on the ground, actually at the tournaments, so you get even nearer to the action. So, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Ready? Play.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever in the world you are tuning in from. Vishal, I know he was keen to get us underway here. We are still waiting for Srihari to join, but of course, Hurkacz, by the way, is up a set and a break. So he already has one step in the next round, which of course is the quarterfinals. Somebody who already has both feet in the next round is Alexander Zverev, who beat Daniil Medvedev in 3 sets today. For me, that's a shock. I don't know how you feel about it. Hey, Janie, nice of you to join us. Make sure you hit the like button, by the way. Yes, probably he is. We are waiting patiently for him. He said he would be here the second that Medvedev and Zverev finished. I assume he's watching Medvedev against Zverev from 2023 and not one of their previous iterations. But yes, arguably Zverev's biggest win since he got injured at Roland Garros last year. So yeah, anyway, wonderful to have you on board. I'm really looking forward to Shrihari joining us any second. But as Janie suggests, he may well be disappointed by that previous result. As for Tsitsipas, by the way, well, he's in big trouble here. And we are at a point of the year where Stefanos can often struggle. New York is by far his weakest Grand Slam, probably even weaker than Wimbledon, despite the surface. So, yeah, go Hubie. I'm sure you're very pleased about this, Janie, especially given that Rublev went out a couple of days ago. For those of you that are new to the channel, by the way, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also, get voting in our poll. I'm going to finish that actually in 10 seconds. So in 10 seconds, I'm going to end this poll because, of course, with Hurkacz's advantage right now, I suggest it might be a little bit too late to get voting. So, yeah, let's end the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 65-35 was the response there, and that makes sense. So, as we still wait for Shrihari, who did vow to be here, well, he hoped to be here for the beginning of the match, but he's going to be here, I'm sure. Just having a quick look at the draw, Zverev will play the winner of McDonald against Manarina, the battle of the M&Ms. So Zverev may well fancy his chances of getting to a Masters 1000 semi-final. Later on today, we'll have Lajovic against Fritz and Monfils against Djokovic. And by the way, after this match, Damien will join or will be on another stream for Carlos Alcaraz against Tommy Paul. So make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and also hit the notification bell. So as soon as Damien is with us, let's have a quick listen, by the way, to Zverev, who is talking now on court following his win. Tough windy conditions he's talking about. Very important to have the patience today. Obviously a very difficult opponent. You've got to win the match yourself and try and get over the conditions. The wind is swirling around. He's being reminded of that. Just got to be patient and focus, says Alexander Zverev after his 3-set win over Daniil Medvedev. What does that mean for Medvedev? I believe that he won't be playing any more competitive tennis, at least until the US Open. So that's him done. He'll be hoping for better results there than he achieved in both Canada and Cincinnati. Just having a quick look at some of the stats here for Tsitsipas against Hurkacz, by the way. Hurkacz is almost double the number of winners of his Greek opponents. But most importantly, just 2 unforced errors from a set and a half. But it has been a pretty quick set and a half, 42 minutes into this match between Tsitsipas and Hurkacz. And we're already almost at the halfway point in the second set. So it's been a pretty quick set and a half. Hurkacz polishing off Steph 6-3 in the first set and up over the break and leading 2-1 in the second. As you can see there, he's got almost double the number of winners to his opponent, 18-10, and crucially, half the number of unforced errors. Yeah. And what about other matches on today? Can finally Gael Monfils, nobody beats Gael Monfils 18 times in a row and gets away with it. Can he overcome that situation with with Novak Djokovic today, having lost 18 times in a row to the Serb? But of course, the first encounter they had was an intriguing one where it actually went 5 sets. Cool. Um, yeah, so they went 5 sets in their first ever encounter in New York. Hi, Cedric. Thank you very much for the big up. Um, Bonfils is no Gasquet. Well, Gasquet has exactly the same record. I think it's 18-0 against Rafa Nadal. So, yeah, the first time that Modric, he's a footballer, Monfils played against Novak Djokovic was the US Open, and they went 5 sets. It was arguably the closest he came. Although I do recall a match from them about 2 years ago where Monfils had match points. I believe it was in Dubai just after the Australian Open, so that would have been 2020. Just pretty much probably the last tournament on the ATP tour before the pandemic hit and forced Indian Wells, among other tournaments, to get cancelled. So yeah, but see if finally he can break his duck. I fear the worst, to be honest with you. For Monfils, I know he's playing very well, but maybe Novak is obviously a bit rusty. He only played 1 set last night, of course, overcoming the injured Davidovich Fokina, who had to pull up at the beginning of the second set due to a back injury. Janie's not having much luck with her players, although on the screen right now, we can see she's having a bit more luck with Hurkacz, who is up a break and 40-15 against Stefanos Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas staring down the barrel of a second consecutive early defeat at a Masters 1000, having lost to the aforementioned Gael Monfils in Canada. For those of you just tuning in, make sure you hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We need subscribers as we try to get to the 3,000 mark for subscribers. We're getting close, but we need you. Right now, we've got 35 people. Some of you won't be subscribers. So click that subscribe button and you can keep up to date with all things tennis. Indeed, Tool Toady. First serve, 78% exactly. Very, very important and very, very promising, as you suggested, particularly for Hurkacz, less so for Stefanos Tsitsipas. What are we thinking about the US Open and power rankings? I'm thinking about doing a power rankings video maybe for the US Open men next week. Nick will be returning to the channel next week as well with his WTA power rankings, and we're going to be looking forward to Nick's commentary throughout the US Open, maybe even 1 or 2 things going on next week as well. We'll have ATP Weekly and WTA Weekly as well on Sunday and Monday coming up. So plenty to look forward to on Talking Tennis. So please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Cedric, listen, I think it's pure speculation. It can go one of 2 ways when you end up having a relationship. And I remember hearing from Chrissy Evert saying that she didn't mind losing a Wimbledon final once because all she was caring about was the fact that she was in love with John Lloyd. So there's an example of how it can be a distraction for the negative. But of course, I know Alex Ferguson, the Manchester United manager, he quite liked his players to be in settled relationships because he thought it would bring out better performances. So I think it can work both ways, just depends on the individual. So there we go. Tsitsipas is 30 love up on his serve here, though, so he'll be desperate to hold serve here. Otherwise, a double break, and I think it probably would be game over, or perhaps I should say game, set, and match over. Yes, perhaps, Janie. Perhaps, perhaps, perhaps they are. At the moment, I've got some. Yeah, maybe they are, but I think that would be a high risk strategy, don't you think, Janie? I think you just don't know what's going to happen there, and I think given the fact that there's now 10 days for Daniel and 1 or 2 other players, such as potentially Steph here as well, with no tennis, I don't think they need to save themselves too much. Not at this time of the year. I think possibly post US Open, and that's when fatigue can really hit home. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new, as I was suggesting. And let me know your thoughts on this particular match, by the way. Is there a way back for Steph? And if so, what is your prediction? I think most people, of course, would be suggesting a Hurkacz win at this point. Ah, here's Trihuri, finally. I have to zoom off, so I'll leave you in his capable hands. Thanks, Trihuri.
Hi there, John. Yeah. Uh, so of course, I think everybody knows where I was until now. Didn't help that this match is going really quick. And nobody expected this, I don't think. Um, was the head-to-head 6-2 or 7-2, something to that effect for Tsitsipas against Hubi? It is a pretty dominant lead. So I for one am surprised that the match is playing out this way. And yeah, I mean, I was obviously following the scores a little bit. Steph had a break point at the start of the match. He had a couple of break points at, was it 4-2 in the first set? Yeah, but and then from what I'm reading about this match, he is striking the forehand really well, and that's not something you would really associate with Hubi, right? Um, so yeah. In other news, Zverev finally got a win over Medvedev this year after losing the three previous encounters. Um, Kind of in similar, I think two of their first three matches were went down the wire. You could argue that Zverev should have won those two, but Daniil somehow did. You could argue that Daniil should have won this match because he had a couple of break points at 4-3 to serve for the match, failed to do so. Um, Eventually double faulted at 4-all to hand Zverev the break, and Zverev got it done this time. So there you go. Zverev is through to the quarterfinal, and he's inching closer and closer to um, making it to Turin, I would say, just considering how quite a few players have fallen off this season after having pretty good starts. So after having after enjoying some success until the grass season, Medvedev included. You have the likes of Rude, who's just, he had only those two good results all year. That's keeping him in the hunt. Holger Rune, yeah, he's up and down. He's making it. He's making it deep enough on these big events. Of course, Tsitsipas has really not gotten anything going aside from winning a title since the Australian Open runner-up finish. Novak, as we know, um, he has his own scheduling at the moment. He tends to skip some of these events because he knows that they're not very significant to his career outside of the Grand Slams and, of course, the ADP finals. Um, but yeah, there's that. So whether we like it or not, Zverev is now finding some form, and we always knew that since the get go of RG, I would say, because he defended the huge chunk of points that he had to defend, 720 points. And then from there, he remained in the top 20. Or I should say, he got back to the top 20. And it was just, for him, there was no pressure on his shoulders whatsoever as to defend any sort of points, because obviously his season ended at Roland Garros last year. Uh, so yeah, there you go. And he's through to the quarterfinals. He is in Novak's half. Novak looked a bit shaky yesterday, I would say, but obviously we saw what happened with Fukina retiring, and Djokovic plays Monfils. I think John himself had retweeted Patrick McEnroe's tweet, or I should say post, not tweet, about what was it? He picked Monfils to beat Djokovic. If I can pull up that post. Um, I will get back to this match as quickly as possible. But just wanted to know if there is anyone really seriously who thinks that Monfils is going to beat Djokovic tonight. Here it is. Yeah, found it. Flip. Yeah, I could imagine. It was just really an infuriating experience. All in all. Oh, that's all good. If I can for a second share this post, I should say, not tweet, from Patrick McEnroe. Um, there. He thinks Monfils beats Novak. Wonder what you all think. Does he do it or is it just wishful thinking? Anyway, so coming back to the concerned match here, I'm definitely a little surprised for reasons that I mentioned. This is just a very favorable matchup historically for Tsitsipas. And he looked good against Shelton yesterday. When people had Shelton beating him, he was solid, he played well. So it is quite a surprise, I should say. Anyway, um, Tsitsipas is just held for 3-4. Hurkacz is a couple of holes away from completing the upset. Tsitsipas has enjoyed some success here himself this tournament. Semi-finalist in 21, finalist last year. Uh, Obviously, in 2020, also he was. I should say he was also the semi-finalist when the tournament was played in New York. That was when tennis had just resumed after the COVID pandemic halted the tour for several months. He made the semis. He lost to Raonic. 2019, I believe he lost to Hubi here in 2019. Or was it Struff? I'm not able to recall. I do remember that one of his losses to Hubi in 2019 was in one of these tournaments in Canada or Cincinnati. Um, I can just pull that up. And yeah, he's 7-2 in the head to head. Oh, it was Canada. My bad. Yeah. Zhang wins the first point. Oh. Oh, he wins. Okay. Well, Zheng has won the second point as well. Anyway, Manarino, I know that McDonald was 2 love up in the first set, so I guess Manarino came from behind. Um, by the way, Zverev, I think, is 7-0 against Manarino in the head to head. So wouldn't he be licking his lips at this prospect? Hold on for a second while I bring my power outlet. Yes, sir, I'm back. And okay, interesting. Mukova did take out Sakari in the opening round at RG before making the final. That was a heck of a run. Um, it is interesting. I think Sakari came from behind yesterday too, if I'm not mistaken, on a previous round. This is these are good signs to see. Having also just made the final in Washington, she did hit a bit of a roadblock. Opening round exits in the past two slams, albeit to good players. I mean, Mukova and Kostyuk. But still, um, let's see. Okay, so Hurkacz is serving 40-15. I mean, it was 15 all just literally a second ago. So he's up 40-15. It's a point away from 5-3, and it's not even been an hour. Okay, yeah, he holds. Forehand up the line, which Steph doesn't get back, and Hubi's raising his fist to his box. Not something you would expect really from him, at least on such a at such a frequency. He is one thing I do like about Hubi is not only is the fact that he's one of the nicest guys you will see. Um, but here's the difference. I want to talk about this. Hurkacz and Rude. John, feel free to chime in as well if you want to. But I think between the two, they have kind of a similar persona. Obviously, Rude having been embroiled in a certain in a few controversies himself, but he's also shown that he's not someone to be messed with, really. But he and Hurkacz have that really kind person aura about them. But I've noticed that Hubi doesn't let that really affect his game on court. Whereas with Rude, whenever he takes to the court against these guys, most of the time, he's defeated the moment he steps on court. I mean, I get that Hurkacz I mean, not doesn't have the best of records either against some of these best players. He's 0-6 against Novak. However, he's still 3-2 against Medvedev. He's beaten Tsitsipas a couple of times, and this is a heck of a performance. We know how well he played against Alcaraz in Toronto last week. Um, and he really pushed. I mean, even though it's 6-0 for Djokovic in the head-to-head, he really pushed him in a few of those meetings. I would say three of them, especially one where he was, I think, just 3 points away from victory in Paris in 2021. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is why I think is the difference. Not to mention, I do think that while Rude is the steadier player, Hurkacz just has more weapons, and he's a big disruptor. Um, I agree with that. Yes, he does. I mean, of course, the serve is such a big weapon, and sometimes you're just left staring, wondering if you're ever gonna have a play on it. But yeah, does Rude have a killer instinct in that way? No, he doesn't. He has had some wins against. He's 5-1 against Holger Rune. He is 2-2 against Zverev. 1-1 against Tsitsipas. He has, I mean, there are a few matchups within the top 10 that he has done well in the past. Tsitsipas has 2 game points now. He will try to force the question from Hubi, who will look to serve for the match. Of course, he did face 3 break points throughout this match, but then it's just about been an hour, and Hubi's a game away from winning this encounter. Oh, for a second, I thought that you rated Hubi's 4 and 5 out of 10. I mean, sorry, Rude's 4 and 5 out of 10. I was a little confused, and I was like, wait a minute, but okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean the backhand jail he's put into it, and that part of the game gets easily exposed. Very shaky backhand that he has. Just nothing much really on it. Tsitsipas just held. The clock has obviously just crossed 1 hour, and Hurkacz, after this changeover in a minute's time, will serve for the match and serve for the place for a place in the quarterfinals in Cincinnati. Yeah, it's just a phrase used so many times in Big Three debates, like especially last year or so. People talking about Nadal and oh, Novak put Nadal in backhand jail. Then the in their 2021 RG semifinal, the Nadal fans would get all uproared about it. They will start sharing clips from their semis from 2007 and 8, and yeah, it's just gone back and forth. So I guess the experience helps positively in some way or the other. Um, I don't see Ghosty here yet. Maybe he would. I'm just reading the comments. Shrira is flipping his table like I am. You best believe that if I had a table in front of me, that table would have been toast. Um, Ghosty's gone AWOL. Yeah, that's just sad. Ace to start the game. Great start from Hubie, serving for the match. 15 love. That helps the nerves. Let me pull up the aces stat. What I mean? Wait, Kinman is up a break, by the way. Let's talk about upsets. No nerves whatsoever from Hubie. Puts away a smash easily. 30 love. And Hubie did beat Steph twice. Has beaten him twice before. One of them I remember very clearly was Miami 2021. The only Masters event that Hubie's won. Ace again, and it's 40 love. Steph has no read whatsoever on these serves. Hubie has shortened my stay to like 10 minutes. And he's done it. Unreturned serve, arms aloft from Hubert Hurkacz as he takes out Stefanos Tsitsipas in just over an hour. 6-3, 6-4, through to the quarterfinals in Cincinnati, I'm guessing for the first time. Unless he made, no, I don't think he made it last year. But yeah, this is a big win. Let's not forget that a couple of matches ago, he he took down Kokinakis in the deciding set tiebreaker. Yesterday, for those who didn't watch, he was shambolic. He was absolutely shambolic. After the first set, I think it was 5-3, 15 love up. He lost 16 points in a row to lose the first set. And I thought, okay, he's toast. He's losing to Borna. But then, he came back, he pulled it back, and then he got through that match, which was impressive on its own. But I did not see this coming, let alone in the manner in which it played out. I can see that John himself is really surprised by this result.
Yeah, I think I am. I think Stefanos and Daniil are at similar moments right now, and we don't quite know where they're at. I guess there's a bit more optimism still around Daniil because I think he's had a largely good year on the hard courts at least. But both of them will go into the US Open. I think a little bit lower on confidence than we might have anticipated. I mean, Stefanos does traditionally struggle. He looks very grumpy as he heads off court, by the way. Stefanos does traditionally struggle in New York anyway, for whatever reason. I still would like to see another year or two before I make a concrete decision on him regarding Australia and New York, for example. I've seen a lot of people, making that Rafa comparison, looking at their two performances at the two slams. But actually, Rafa's win-loss record is almost identical at the two. It's just that, he maybe goes out, he gets to the final and runs into Novak like he did in 2019 in Melbourne, or all sorts of other circumstances. So I'd like to see Stefanos probably another couple of years in New York before I come to a firm conclusion that he just doesn't perform so well at this time of year. I do think the crowd can have an effect on him positively in Melbourne and negatively in New York, perhaps. He is somebody who is a sensitive guy and seems to not react well when the crowd are against him, let's say, Stefanos in particular. So, yeah, this is a tough loss for him in straight sets to Hubie. What was his record? You mentioned it earlier against Hubie.
It was 7-2 in the head-to-head.
Yeah, in favor of Stefanos, right?
Yeah. And like you mentioned, I mean, one of the reasons probably that he enjoys so much success in the Australian Open is the fact that there is a pretty large Greek contingency
Yeah.
over there. So he does enjoy a lot of support from his countrymen. Um, and also, I mean, yeah, it was, I think, his last 4 or 5 editions, he's only gone out before the semis like once. It was in 2020, lost to Raonic. And he was still dazed, I would say, in general. I mean, he did win the ATP finals, but then that Wawrinka loss in at RG in 2019, that put him out for quite a while. We didn't really get any significant result from him for a long time outside of that triumph in at O2 Arena. Also, yeah, about Stefanos, yeah, like you mentioned, he's just not had any success at the US Open. Third round twice, first round last year, and first round I think also in 2019. So yeah, we'll have to see, but I just don't see any reason outside of the fact that maybe he just was, it's just a some sort of coincidence or some curse, if you will, because he is a pretty good hard courter. He's made the
Yeah.
final in Australia, 3 semis as well. He's won the ATP finals. He's made a bunch of finals, in at other big events on hard courts. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the thing
it's
is with
great.
Stefanos, and I'll come back to Medvedev in a minute because there's a comment from Matthew that we can both address. The thing with Stefanos is since Australia, has he had a good tournament? I'm just trying to think. I mean, okay, winning in Los Cabos. Has he had a good tournament at 500 or above level? Have we ended a tournament and gone, okay, he lost in the final or he lost in the semis or whatever, but actually he played some of the best tennis that we know he's capable of? I think, and I think even Australia, I think there's a few things that we can look at with Australia. He plays Hachanov in the semi-final, which I think he's never lost to Hachanov. He played a
He
quarterfinal
lost
against
to him
Sinner.
in Miami, I think.
Oh, he
Yeah,
lost this year.
yeah,
Okay, so at the time he'd never lost to him,
yeah.
and Miami was, and we'll come to Miami in that spell of the season in a second as well. Then in the quarterfinal he had Sinner, and I thought it would be a cakewalk because I saw how Stefanos polished off Yannick a year before, and generally does do well against Yannick. And I just thought, well, and actually it was much closer than I expected, and it was 5 sets,
Yeah,
and won
yeah.
the
That was
first two,
the
lost the next
that was
two.
the fourth round. Yeah, it was the fourth round, and the
I thought
quarters
it
was
was quarterfinal,
Lehechka.
but you might be right. Yeah. Oh, yes. Lehetska was quarterfinal.
Yeah,
And then
it was the
Lehetska
quarters
match.
last year though, and like you
Yeah.
mentioned, he just completely demolished him. So we didn't really have any reason to think Yannick would, turn the result around this time.
So
Um,
the gap is narrowed to Yannick, in my opinion. If not, Yannick on certain days might even be ahead of Stefanos. And then also in that same tournament, the quarterfinal against Lehetska, Lehetska seemed to be a bit nervy, but it was full of unforced errors. It wasn't a clean straight set win. I think both players could have played a lot better on the day. So I think there's a lot of caveats about that Australian Open run. But even if we look at that and go, okay, loses Novak in the final, it's a good result and certainly an
yeah,
improvement because he's never been in the final Australia. But since then, we then had that period of the season in February and March where you mentioned Miami, but also Indian Wells and Rotterdam, where there was all this talk of an injury, and he kept saying, I don't want to be here. I think he turned up in Indian Wells and said he was going to go out early, and that's exactly what happened. It was just a very strange spell. And then the clay court period of the season where I think it probably is his best surface in that I think on his absolute peak, we've seen him push Rafa and Novak probably unlike anybody else on the tour. Maybe Carlos can have something to say about that as well. But you get what I'm saying, that his peak on clay he's there or thereabouts. I don't think his peak on a hard court or on grass is the same. You can't put him in the same conversation as Novak on grass, and you can't even put him in the same conversation as Novak on hard or Daniil. If they're all playing at their absolute best,
or even Clay, I would say, because he's 0-6 against Novak on clay.
yes, but I think of 2 matches in 2021 in Rome
Ah,
and Paris, and
okay,
that's
like
peak
that, right?
Tsitsipas.
Yeah,
That's peak
yeah, yeah,
Tsitsipas. And
yeah.
I
It
think it was
is.
peak Novak as well to a large extent. I mean, I know he struggled at times with a 5-set against Musetti, but he won the French Open. He was in the final in Rome. I'm trying to think. He won one tournament, I think, on clay just
He was
before
Belgrade. Yeah,
Paris. Yeah. So Stefanos's peak clay is it's very competitive against peak or Rafa on clay and
Yeah, I
also
remember that
Novak.
Barcelona final, right?
That's
He's
right.
match point up, and
Fantastic.
yeah,
Fantastic.
that's true. I mean, on clay, like you mentioned, in 2021, I agree. He was probably I would say the third best clay coder, or even the second best. If I mean, if you look at the results,
But it was the
he
three
yeah,
of them, and they would every time. I mean, now when he comes up against Novak, I almost turn over the TV because I know what's going to happen. But
that's
then,
true. Yeah.
he went in that Rome. That Rome semi-final could have gone either way. The Barcelona match could have gone either way in the French Open final. You don't
Yeah,
get
I'm just
that
thinking back to that Rome match. I think the head-to-head was just 4-2 for Novak at the time.
right.
In that Rome quarterfinal, it became 6-2, and then became 10-2 towards the end of last year, and then now it's 11-2 after the Australian. So
Hmm.
that RG final was really the
Yeah,
turning point in their
absolutely.
head-to-head. And I think it's just, yeah, once you in some matchups, they just turn so lopsided when one player figures out, okay, I have been winning the close. I mean, just look at Medvedev and Zverev, for example. I know it's 9-7 now for Medvedev, but he's won 9 of the last 12 that the two have played. So, after a point, you do have that confidence. Okay, you're gonna maybe lose one or two matches, but then you're gonna win most of them. Even though the matchup itself, like for a while, didn't seem like it was so bad for the other player with the losing record. Um, but yeah, like you mentioned, that's true. Even on clay, yeah, he made the final in Barcelona. He made the semis in Rome. Didn't look great in either of those tournaments, really. I don't think so. He
Oh,
lost
this
to
year you
Medvedev
mean?
in Rome.
This year?
It was this year, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he got to the final in Barcelona. Yeah, right. He got to the final where he lost to. But this is what I mean. We've seen the word regressed is being mentioned. I think it's a combination of things. I don't think we've seen Stefanos for a couple of months, for example, play the level of tennis that he played between January 2021 and June 2021. That 6 month period, we think about how fantastic he was in Barcelona, and that final against Rafa could have gone either way. We just mentioned the Novak matches in Paris and also in Rome. I would also go back to the quarterfinal that he played against Rafa in Australia. So from that 6 month period, we've got tournament after tournament where Stefanos is turning up and is a contender to win the tournament, and he's certainly going toe to toe with some of the best players of all time. We
Yep.
look now to 2023, and I also look at the Carlos Alcaraz scenario. So now we've got Alcaraz has entered the fray. Okay, one or two players such as Rafa are no longer with us, or at least for now, is not on the tour. But Carlos Alcaraz, and I think this is probably more chilling than even the Rafa and Novak scenario, because at least with Novak, maybe Stefanos might think, well, in a couple of years, maybe I'll be able to pick up a few more tournaments when Novak's not around. Well, there's a
Yeah.
certain Spanish guy that's come along, and 2022 they played each other in Barcelona and it was close, 3 sets. 2023, and Stefanos couldn't lay a glove on him either in Barcelona or in Paris.
Roland
So
Garros. Yeah, that's true. I
yeah.
was also thinking about, like you mentioned, um, it's Novak and Rafa being there, and the sort of change in guard has happened, and then he's not the one who we're talking about, because we were for a while we were talking about, okay, maybe next time he gets Novak, or next time he gets Rafa. I mean, yeah, Matthews just mentioned here that he did beat Rafa from 2 sets down in Melbourne
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, and he got him back after losing to him pretty comfortably 2 years before that in the semis. The year he
Hmm.
beat Federer, that was not close at all. Um, Novak, same thing. The Rome, it was also the 2020 RG semifinal where he was almost losing straight sets, takes it to 5,
Yeah.
loses. So yeah, he was knocking on the door there, and then from the narrative being, okay, maybe next time he gets Novak or next time he gets Rafa, Alcaraz shows up literally later that year and beats him at the US Open. It was, I think, what, 7-6 in the fifth. And so basically we're talking about Steph, going now we're we settled for him losing to the best guys. We're like, okay, you know what? He lost to Novak or he lost to Alcaraz. That's not bad. We're sort of expecting him to lose. That wasn't really the discussion around him or discourse around him a couple of years ago. It's clearly changed, and I think regressed is the perfect word to use, because um, we have just we're not surprised that he's losing these matches anymore, or we expect him to rather. Like, I know it's Novak in Melbourne. I know that it was even though it was in Paris, it was still Novak. Or it was in Bercy. Yeah, he almost beat Novak. That he was up a mini break in the deciding set, and he loses from there. Even then, we felt like it was some sort of random spurt, or it was just once in several tournaments kind of performance, where we won't see something like that from him again. And then they played like a week later in Turin, and it was rather straightforward for Novak. So, yeah, we're not really surprised when he loses matches like this anymore. So I guess he has regressed in the pretty strict sense of the term. And with Medvedev too, while he has a huge Carlos Alcaraz problem at the moment, and I don't put too much weight on his losses to Deminor as well, because I expect him to beat them when he plays them next, or when he's playing better. You still can see that he's going to beat these players. With Alcaraz, you just don't. There is no hope at the moment, unless he changes things up completely, and he fixes the issues that he has currently in his game. But aside from Alcaraz, even without Alcaraz, you have, okay, Medvedev has a great record against Sinner. He has a great record against Tsitsipas, in most cases against Zverev. He also matches up well against Djokovic. So we still talk about him being one of the top 2, 3 favorites, even though Alcaraz is there for this reason, because he has only one huge issue in terms of matchups. But Steph has like a bunch of them already.
Indeed. Well, lots to talk about and lots more to discuss and also see throughout this week, but also in the week to come. But of course, during New York, we will see how these players fare. I know there's a question here from Miles, and as is often the case in tennis, it's a little bit of both. Listen, I'm going to end this stream now. Shuhui, thanks for joining us. Because I know
Thanks.
Damien.
Sorry for being late. Anyway,
No,
I was here
no
for
problem.
all of 15 minutes,
No.
and Hubie got it done pretty quickly. So
Yeah,
thanks
no
for
problem.
having me on. It's a pleasure as
Yeah, no
always.
problem. Damien is about to get underway with Carlos Alcaraz against Tommy Paul, of course. So we'll bring this stream to an end. But if you want to keep talking tennis, go over and join Damien for that. Thanks, Shahui, and we'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Sure. Thank you, John. Thanks, everybody.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis. you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.